we need to talk. We need to talk about rest and about unlearning old habits and what rest looks like to me now after a traumatic brain injury. Because what if everything you thought you knew about rest was actually keeping you from healing? Maybe sharing my truth can help you. Because I thought I knew what rest was. And maybe I did. Maybe I didn't know what rest was. But for my old self, I didn't know it for my new self. At least not right until my body collapsed. I wasn't even feeling tired. I wasn't exhausted or anything. I just, right up till the point of crashing, it shut down. And what happened is I was neurologically burned out. I am a traumatic brain injury survivor. I am still fighting and rebuilding, and that is okay. And that's why I'm sharing this episode. And this episode will be about unlearning many things I thought I knew about working hard, keep going, pushing through. And I had to replace them with things like peace, stillness, safety, my own space. That's what I deserved. My old habit was rest is earned. So let me start with unlearning some things because the old me couldn't sit still, and sit still in the sense that I was always working, showing up to events and parties and birthdays and going to the beach and IKEA time and football matches, basketball matches, movie time, you name it, I was there. So for me, it feels like the old me believed that rest was earned, not needed. And from stories I've heard, it is that the old self fought through fatigue. He thought that that was something you can push through with willpower. And I was told because I don't remember so many things. So it's a story from somebody else. So it's not stubbornness that I had, it is a deeply ingrained habit. And owning my own businesses, having work days from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night was a norm for me. So the norm plus society that teaches us that productivity equals worth means that stopping means weakness. So I never stopped. So for years after my injury, I still carried this programming trying to force my new brain to operate like my old brain. Now I know a thing I had to learn the hard way, and that's the part of traumatic brain injury, and that is neurological fatigue. And it's not about strength or character or determination or pushing through. It is about my brain cells not getting the resources they need to operate the way they did before my accident. And people think they know what TBI fatigue is. Let me tell you what it actually is. And let me clear up some misconceptions before I start my whole story, because this is crucial for understanding what I and we are dealing with as TBI survivors. People often think that traumatic brain injury fatigue means that we're just tired and lazy. They think it's like being sleepy after a long day of work, something you could just push through with coffee and willpower. And some people just think that we're making excuses or exaggerating. And others believe that we're just tired and we need to have more motivation and then we can overcome everything. My truth, because I live it, it is more that my brain is operating on 10% battery while still running multiple high demand programs. It is not about being tired. It is about my brain literally not having the energy resources to process any information the way it used to before my accident. It is neurological. It is not physiological. So my reality of neurological fatigue, I'll share with you. Traumatic brain injury and energy it doesn't feel like being tired at all. It feels like your entire nervous system just short circuits and shuts down. Every sound, every conversation, every moment of overthinking becomes a heavy demand on the brain, and the brain can't handle it. Researchers show that up to 98, 99% of TBI survivors experience some form of fatigue, making it one of the most common symptoms I also have to face. They too, but me too. So, what's happening isn't just tiredness. After my brain injury, structural and functional changes occur, disrupt the whole brain's energy regulation system, the injured areas. And they force the injured areas and part of the other brain, parts of the other brain to work harder and to create what I've called before the ripple effect. My brain now uses more energy and creates new neurological pathways to process information that used to be automatically. It's like my brain constantly is taking a detour around damaged highways. The bridge story, collapsed bridge, you need to go down to the water, get up the wall on the other side. That's what my brain does every day, 24/7. And here is the science behind it. When parts of our brain that are injured, our brain literally has to work harder in different areas and perform different than the normal activities. And this extra processing consumes significantly more mental energy, which is why sometimes I just simply shut down even after a normal conversation. It is completely draining for me. For me, it's definitely learning new things that make my brain work overtime and makes my energy drain faster. I needed to learn to recognize my crashes. And I know my crashes always start with my squinting of the eyes, suddenly staring into nothingness. And then tiredness hits me like a wave I can't fight. It's like the wave pulling you back in the sea. Then my head hurts, my neck hurts, and then I know I'm going to crash. And when I crash, I mean I crash. I mean my body and my mind just shut off. There's actually a scientific term for it. It's called pathological mental fatigue. And researchers show that this is mental exhaustion and it becomes noticeable during sensory stimulation or when like cognitive tasks are performed for a longer extended period without a break. So studies suggest that this might relate to a disruption in the glutamate, neurotransmission part of the brain, and that is the part that's the signaling system. So my brain just says, no more. And there's no negotiating with it. And I need to stop wherever I am or whatever I'm doing. I just need to sit down. I need to shut up. I need to stay quiet. And I need to breathe. I need to close my eyes and do my own 1-4-2 technique. I breathe in for 6 or 7 or 8 seconds, but let's do 6. I breathe in for 6. I pause or hold for 24. And then I breathe out for 12. And I repeat this until I uncrash and find my space to get home and rest. A breaking point that I remember and how unlearning taught me to help crises and to see them now is a story I'll share with you. So here's the moment that I think everything changed for me. And I noticed what crashing really was. And it was New Year's Eve in Los Angeles with my son. So let me talk you through the timeline because it exactly shows you where my old habits set me up for a disaster. So the day started early in the morning. We had a 2-hour drive to Schiphol. Then we had a 2-hour wait at the airport, followed by an 11-hour flight. Then when we landed, another hour to settle in LA, say hi to everybody, hugs and kisses. And then I think I slept for 2 to 3 hours, even if I slept on the plane for an hour or two. And here is where my old doing kicked in. instead of listening to my body, I pushed through because we had to go to this New Year's party. It is New Year. My son's there. And by evening, I was at the party with lots of people and kids are running around and, you know, they were doing kid things and there were noises and we were talking and everything was feeling good. And, you know, I could take on the world. And that was my first mistake. I couldn't. My brain was already running on fumes and I just didn't recognize it. So, you know, at a certain point during the night, we started to playing a guessing game. It's like you guess the person. And when it was my turn, I knew my brain was already on its last power, but, you know, I listened, I focused, and I knew who it was. It was Michelle Obama. I got it. I should have stopped there. But they pushed me to do one more because they didn't believe I got Michelle Obama without help. And I should have just said no. I should have said no harder. And looking back now, I know my brain had shut off at that point and it was crashing hard. But I didn't know what was going on. And there was one person, you know, pushing me, giving me clues and saying words and you can only, you know, do this with help and now you can't, can you? And my mind just snapped. And I said, I quit, I stop, I don't want to play this game anymore. I don't know, I'm done. And nobody understood. Nobody, not even my partner. They saw attitude. They didn't see neurological shutdown. What researchers call inefficient information processing was for my brain it was already operating on its maximum capacity and it was just maintaining the basic, you know, social interaction. So the additional cognitive load literally exceeded my brain's, you know, ability to do anything. And that night I broke mentally and emotionally and I just broke. And I whispered to myself in the car, I don't want to fight and hustle and break down like this anymore. I just don't. My partner told me I was harsh. And my son said in the morning, Dad, you crashed right. Just think about that for a moment. All the adults in the room, even my partner, saw attitude, me being difficult or rude. My son, he saw what actually was happening. He recognized the crash. And children often see what adults miss because they're not filtering everything through social expectations or judgments. My son knew me well enough to see past my behavior. And he saw that the brain was struggling underneath. My reflection that morning when I looked in the mirror was a tired soul. And I recognized the version that who I was, the person that needed to push through, was gone and I didn't want him back. And that's when the reality of my recovery needed to create a timeline. And here is something I wished, you know, I knew before. And I knew before I had to recover. Healing isn't like a straight line forward. Some days I can handle busy social events like New Year. And some days one phone call is just too much. It isn't that it's fatigue. It is the reality of a brain injury recovering. Monday, I might feel like, you know, I can conquer the world. Tuesday, I might need a rest after a 10-minute conversation. And Wednesday, it could be right in the middle or somewhere in between. This unpredictability used to, you know, make me really tired and frustrate me until I learned to see that information, it's information, it's not limitation. My brain is literally rebuilding itself, and that takes time. New neurological pathways are forming. Damaged areas are, how do you say it? They're rebuilding. New areas of nervous systems are recalibrating. It takes a tremendous amount of energy and it doesn't happen on schedule. So, the key to learning to work with my brain's capability on any given day is working with it, not against it. So, I needed to build in schedule and habits, and I needed to unlearn things and schedule things that, I can't brush off things for later anymore. I need to rest and I need to rest. Then I need to do it. The crash doesn't wait for a better moment. It doesn't care about my schedule or your plans. I just crash. And studies show this too, that people with a TBI that recognize and respond to the fatigue early actually perform better overall. So fighting isn't only making it worse, it extends the recovery time. So I'm making new habits, building better habits. So I had to create some rituals that I do. And let me share some with you. One is a 1 minute stillness moment or stillness break. It's when I feel like the fog rolling in. I literally stop. Whatever I'm doing, wherever I am, I'm just sit down and I pause wherever I am. And I close my eyes and I focus on nothing but breathing. No phone, no thinking about the next text, just 60 seconds of complete silence. It is my own permission to be in the moment with myself. I don't need to justify it to anybody, including myself. And that helps. Then there, of course, is the 1-4-2 breathing. And this feels like my neurological system just has a reset button. So what I do is the following. I breathe in for how many ever seconds I want. For me, it's 6. So I breathe in for 6. I pause it 4 times as many, so 24 seconds. I hold it or I pause it, and then I breathe out the 2 times 6, 12 seconds. And so the ratio is 1-4-2. And the extended pause or hold activates your parasympathetic nervous system, and that is your body calm down response system. And so sometimes I have to repeat it 10, 20 times until I settle down and the system reboots. And it's not just deep breathing, it's a specific technique I learned in India, and that literally changed my nervous system state. And it helps me 1-4-2. Then there is the heat and cold grounding. So sometimes my nervous system just needs something to physically help to regulate it, like it's like a shot to the system. So sometimes I get ice cubes from the fridge. I hold them in my hands, I place them on my wrist or my neck, and sometimes I just splash cold water in my face. I'll use heating sometimes too, but a lot of times that's just a hot, warm shower. The temperature changes, that gives my nervous system something to concretely focus on instead of overwhelming the internal chaos. I hope I said that right. It's called bilateral stimulation, and it helps the brain to process and reset. Then there's my nervous system journaling, and that really helps me. It's not regular journaling. I write down what I'm feeling. I'm feeling in my body. It's like a tight chest, a foggy head, squinting eyes. I track what happens right before I crash. I write it down in my telephone or on paper. Is it a noise? Was it too much conversation? Was it bright lights? Memory loss makes it hard to track patterns, but writing down helps me to remember it. So over time, I started seeing the triggers more clearly, and this awareness is like an early warning system to me now. And then there's the protection question. That sounds really heavy. Before I rest, I ask myself a question. What would resting right now help me with and protect me from? Usually it's protecting me from a bigger crash. I know it's a bigger crash that is coming. Sometimes it's from losing words mid-sentence, from an emotional dysregulation. Maybe I'll snap at people that I love, and protects me from days, hours of recovery. So this question helps me see my proactivity before I collapse. So redefining rest, not just sleep. It has completely redefined what it even means to me. Rest doesn't always mean sleeping to me. Sometimes it's just sitting in silence, and sometimes it's just closing my eyes for 5 minutes, and sometimes it's removing myself from a noisy situation. Sometimes it's yoga, sometimes it's meditation. It's things that help me stay focused in the present moment. Again, research shows that people with a TBI who exercise regularly have a better mental function and awareness or alertness. Physical activity actually helps build stamina and lessen both physical and mental fatigue. It is not about pushing through. It is about rebuilding our brain's capacity sustainably. So for the families and friends that are listening, when somebody with a traumatic brain injury says they need to rest, believe them. Don't push them. Not just one more game. Just stay a little longer. When we say we are done, our brain is done. It's done. The most helpful thing you can do and say is, okay, let's go somewhere quiet or give us a hug. Understanding this isn't just about being supportive. It's about understanding the mental and medical reality. TBI increasingly documented not just as an acute condition, but as a chronic disease with a long-term consequence. So when we ask for rest, we ask for self-care for a chronic neurological condition. I am proud to be the person that I became. Someone who understands his feelings, someone who listens to his brain instead of forcing it to be complicit or to comply, someone who understands that rest isn't weakness, it's intelligent understanding of the self. Learning to honor my pre-crashes didn't make me weaker, it made me stronger. I can actually do more now than that day in Los Angeles because I rest better before I completely break down. I can be present with my son, have conversation, experiences, because I protect my energy of burning out. I rest. I find my peace. It's choosing to honor what my body and my mind actually need, not what I think they need or should handle. I've lived with a TBI and a neurological difference. It just taught me to rest more rather than to do what everybody thinks I need to do. I don't need to push through when my system is telling me to stop. I don't need to be a part of a community that says, go, go, go. Over 27 million people have a TBI every year worldwide. In the United States, there's 1 million people that sustain a traumatic brain injury annually. Trust me, we are not alone. You are not alone. Your peace matters more than their pace. Your rest matters more than anybody's expectation. Your brain knows what it needs. Listen to what your brain is showing you. And know I'm proud of you. Keep dancing in the rain like nobody's watching. I hope this helped a little bit. See you next time. Namaste.